Soul, let's talk about it. Soul is the newest Pixar movie to come out this year, written and directed by Pete Docter, and stars Jamie Foxx and Tina Fey. So Jamie Foxx voices Joe Gardner. He's this middle school band teacher who wishes more than anything to be a jazz musician, a famous club jazz musician. For the first 10 minutes of the film, we follow him through his life. He gets a promotion at work, but he doesn't love his job. He wants to be this jazz musician. So he gets a call. So he gets a tryout for this famous jazz saxophonist played by Angela Bassett, and he goes and he nails the tryout. And she says, boom, you're on. You're my guy tonight at 7 p.m. And he's like, this is the greatest day of my life. So he's walking down, he's on cloud nine, he's walking down the road, and of all things, he falls in an open manhole. And at first you're like, okay, that's kind of funny. That's kind of a funny way to roll the credits. But no, but then he dies. But then the next scene, he's on a literal stairway to heaven, and it's just like, oh yeah, he just died 15 minutes into the film. Kind of shocking. Really didn't see it coming. It's a somber twist. It's away from the afterlife. Up at the top is the light, and he runs backwards, and he falls off of the stairway, and he ends up in the great before, which is where souls are when they get matched up with babies, and that's the baby's personality. So he ends up in the great before. Here he meets Soul 22. This soul has been here since the beginning of time, and refuses to go to Earth. She's apathetic, she's a cynic, she does not care for whatever Earth has to offer. And she has been mentored by all of the greats. She's been there for so long, she's been mentored by Abraham Lincoln, Gandhi, you name it. She's voiced by Tina Fey, and this is our odd couple. But before I go too far, let's go into the good. So it's a Pixar film. You know the good. It's fantastically made. It's an amazing movie to look at and to listen to. The music is the highlight of the movie, I'd say. Pixar does it better than almost every movie, live action or animated. The music they're able to add to tense and sincere moments just elevates the scene to a whole nother level. The score is done by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. Reznor's really cool because he founded the band Nine Inch Nails and then got into film composition. And basically, he's been David Fincher's right-hand man for the last decade or so. And those films are just scored phenomenally. And so it's really cool that he did a Pixar film. Anyways, the music composition just stands out. And so the fact that it's done by a world-class composer is no surprise. So that is a highlight of the film. Second is the animation. I mean, it's just so beautiful. It's realistic but cartoony. They know exactly how to draw characters. They go abstract with some of the people in the great before. It's just all so pleasant to look at. And the cityscapes, I just loved it all. I just really thought it was beautiful animation. Another staple of Pixar is great writing. I mean, the film speaks to adults and children alike, as most Pixar films do. But the comedy that it puts in there is really nuanced. I mean, it's genuine comedy. They play the characters properly so some kids can get some laughs, but also some highbrow humor can fly through. And ultimately, it's just fun. I mean, that's the way it works. You're laughing, you're having a good time, and you're enjoying what you're watching. Some other really interesting things to talk about are the messages in this movie. So the movie gets a lot of praise for being a black Disney film. I mean, sure, it is. I don't want to go too deep into it, but I think they got some room left in the tank. But that's neither here nor there. It's a solid attempt. But interestingly, the film really dives into life and death. I mean, he dies 15 minutes into the film, and it's all about him getting out of purgatory, basically. It's kind of a really deep movie. And I wonder how much kids will understand that. Well, actually, this speaks to a little bit of the bad. So let's jump into the bad. I think the film, ironically, lands itself in its own purgatory, where it doesn't know if it wants to appeal to adults or children more. Pixar is usually the master of towing and playing with this line, but I think they actually missed the mark on this one. These heavy themes of life and death and what you should be doing on Earth, I imagine they won't resonate with kids until they watch it when they're older, and that's fine because I'm not a kid. I actually appreciate that. But if you're going to go that way, I think they needed to make Joe's character a little deeper. He's clearly conflicted with what he's amounted to so far in life. I just don't think that they drive the nail home. I think he needed some way more intense scenes early. The most that you get is a self-disappointed look at his band class early in the film, or something like that. A disappointed look at his past. I don't know how old this guy's supposed to be. I'm assuming like a mid-30s. Film is more geared for adults than previous ones, but I don't think that they capture that adult audience perfectly. I think the more childish films actually have more grit in them, interestingly. It's something that I really missed in this movie. There's no traditional Pixar villain, and they are typically fantastic. So I think it really could have served well. The villain that they throw in there is honestly a joke. Like, genuinely, they just make jokes about him the whole time. You're never actually fearful that he's a villain. It's a big whiff on the villain, if we even want to consider this villain a villain. So yeah, I think they need to make Joe's character a little deeper. I really wanted to feel the pain that he was feeling, and I never did. And so that's why at the end of the movie, it doesn't drive home as hard as it does. Now, thanks to the musical composition and the animation, it's still emotional. I mean, but I didn't come close to crying. Coco, I know it's unfair to compare everything to Coco, but Coco had me on the fucking fringe, dude. This one wasn't even close. I spoke about the villain. I was not happy that they didn't include a villain in it. And lastly, they have these weird open-ended things that they never address. So there's one character in the barbershop who constantly insults Joe. And Joe finally gets the courage to say that's because he's not satisfied with his life. But we never get this conclusion to Joe saving him or helping him out or figuring out what's wrong with his life. That's a whole story arc that could have been developed. There's also the whole side narrative of Joe's love interest, Lisa. We never even meet her. She's only discussed about by Soul 22, and that would have been phenomenal to get some scenes of her involved. The movie just kind of ends on this hokey note a little bit. I'm not going to give it away, but I did not love the ending, and it felt like there was a lot more room to explore, even just with a scene or two, before they ended up rolling the credits. So with all that, I'm going to give Soul a B+. It's a good movie. It's a great movie. It's really fun to watch, and it's beautifully made. There are just some real strong narrative issues that I had with the flick, and that knocks it down a grade. But I think most people will enjoy it. It's a fun, heartfelt flick that's very well made. Thanks for checking out the review. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.